That wasn't the right button. What? What? Hello! Welcome to the stream. David Snowpick here from Snowpick Games. How is everybody doing today? Happy Friday, if it is Friday where you are. I mean, I guess I don't know how all the time zones... I always get confused when time zones cross into the next day. That always comes up whenever I'm doing a meeting with Bastian, who's in Australia. Anyway, it has been so long since I've streamed. It's been like 3 weeks. Jin Dobry Nionel. Oh, I should welcome everyone. Welcome to Nionel, to Ricardo, to Slacks, to Alexei. Did I miss anyone? I hope not. Anyway, welcome. Welcome to the stream. How is everyone else doing? How are your projects going? Anything interesting going on? Playing anything cool? Lately, I've just been playing Fallout 4 VR a little bit. I haven't gotten that much time to play it, though. Things have just been crazy busy. But yeah, Fairies and Bees. We'll talk about Fairies and Bees in a little bit. We didn't get a chance to talk about Godot 4.1 coming out because it was like the same week as 4th of July week, and then, I don't know, I took 2 days off, so then I had too much work on the days I was on, and so I didn't stream. But I am super excited about the Godot 4.1 release. Ooh, I shouldn't have this up here. I should have something more developy. Yeah, there we go. There's one of our fairies. I'm very proud of the work that we were able to get done on the GD extension team for Godot 4.1. There's a lot of other really cool stuff in there. I have a suspicion that people who weren't following the community really closely may have expected there to be more in Godot 4.1 because traditionally Godot releases, minor releases come out roughly a year apart, right? So like, or at least with Godot 3, I think-ish. I should probably double check these things before I make these claims, but approximately most of the time they would be about a year apart. So like Godot 3.0 was, a year from 3.1, was a year to 3.2, and we had Godot 4.1 that came out like months later. But still, I think it was an amazing accomplishment. I think the shorter release cycle worked really well. We got things in. We didn't release an unstable pile of messiness. Yeah. I'm double extra excited for what we're going to get in 4.2. Like I had mentioned on the previous stream 3 weeks ago, I think for 4.1, we kind of had less time to work on it than normal because after 4.0, so many people were burnt out. Like a lot of people took a month off. And then at least on like the GD extension team and on some other teams, we had to kind of like ramp up and figure out how to organize ourselves and whatnot. So that like maybe we got 2-ish months of work in the 4-month window, whereas for 4.2 we're gonna hopefully do a full 4 months of work, and it's going to be extra double awesome. Anyway, I am very curious to hear about your guys' projects, so please let me know in the chat. Otherwise, I will start babbling about the Fairies and Bees project that we're working on this week. So, as folks who've been watching the stream know, the last bunch of weeks, maybe months, we've been doing very serious stuff like working on GD extension and SG Physics D, which is deterministic physics engine, and all these really heavy things. I wanted to do something lighter. This project is something that I've been working on for my daughters based on like a pretend game that they play all the time where, whoa, that's a big chunk of text on the screen. I will take a look at your comments in a moment, 9L, where they pretend to be fairies and like the bees are like their minions somehow. And the fairies there's different types of fairies like associated with the different elements that have different powers, like water fairies and fire fairies. And so I listening to them play this game, I thought it would make a great video game. So I've started to attempt to do that. I haven't gotten very far yet. There's a couple of requirements that I have for this particular project. One is that all of the art needs to be custom art created by me or my daughters, which is why the art that's in it presently, however little of it there is very medium-ish bad art, which is fine. I love making art, but I'm not, an artist. That is not my expertise. But usually when I'd be prototyping things, I'd use like different asset packs or geometric shapes. But for this, I want it to be all stuff that we make, so that we can work on it together. Also, the goal is for it to be a split-screen multiplayer game, because I play a lot of split-screen multiplayer games with my daughters. I'd settled on like a top-down action RPG type thing because I think it would be relatively simple to create. I think a big part of what I want to do with this is have an interesting world that we can just mess with in different ways. And just top down 16 by 16 tiles, I think, is a relatively easy way to address that. Gameplay wise, I don't really know what it's going to be. I haven't thought too deeply into it. Like, I have like all these mishmash of like thematic ideas that I want to have in there, like the idea that you would use elemental attacks or manipulate the environment or build something. But like, I haven't done really any prototyping. All that exists, and I'll show you that in a minute, is stuff to deal with the split screen multiplayer. This is the first time I've ever done split screen multiplayer, so I had a lot of things to learn. So I think what we're going to do today is we're going to just like prototype some stuff and see how it feels and see if we can find something funnish. So pretty lightweight. All right, let me see what 9L's been saying. Listen, David, there's a chance that I will receive a mobile project to make, job offer basically, in Godot, but the funder requires me to implement Google Firebase and AppFlyer. I'm not familiar with AppFlyer. I'm not sure what that is. Now I expect that Firebase works well in both 3 and 4, but as I've seen AppFlyer plugin is a little outdated, I plan to check it out next week and see if it works, but hopefully it will get updated so I can use it. Any chance it could get ported to 4, or know anyone with whom I could contact this about? So I have not done very much mobile stuff in Godot 4. I don't know the exact state of it. Like the only mobile stuff I've done in Godot 4 so far is the Quest, which is an Android device. But I don't know how stable it is. If your project is planning to release soon, it may be better to stick with Godot 3. I'm not sure. These are always hard decisions to make. Like, I guess that depends on the length of the project, how long you think it will need to be maintained, level of complexity and stuff. It could make sense to stick with 4. But AppFlyer, what even is AppFlyer? Let us do a moment, a spot of research. Make good data-driven, what was it, choices? Okay, is it an analytics thing? Okay, data-driven choices. Interesting. Yeah, so I understand why that would be a client requirement, because they're probably using this analytics for other apps that they have. They want to be able to get all their analytics in the same place. Oh, and 9L gives us the link to a Godot plugin here. I mean, the API is so small. I can't imagine it would be hard to port. I've also never done my own Android plugin. I, of course, have used other people's Godot Android plugins and maybe even messed with the code to them, but I have never started one from scratch. I'm not super familiar with the whole workflow involved there. This may just be this one file, fundamentally. Yeah, I think the entirety of this plugin is basically this file. There's other stuff here, like you have to have this Android manifest, blah, blah, blah. They have this, where'd it go? There was this GD script. I'm not entirely sure what that GD script Was it in here? No, that's still the Java. I thought I saw a GDScript file. Oh, maybe it was in here. Yeah, what is this thing doing? Oh, okay, so then I guess this wraps the Java bit. Okay, so it's that Java file, it's this GDScript file, and then I think you're essentially just copying their libraries in, building it. This is such a simple plugin, like, I don't know, I think many people could potentially port this to Godot 4. Yeah, I mean, I think sticking with, there's valid reasons that maybe you'd want to stick with Godot 3. I think porting this to Godot 4 would be insanely simple. As far as plugins go, this has got 2 effective files and then a whole lot of other, stuff that just needs to be around because it needs to be around. So I don't know. Seems like you got a lot of options. Anyway, let me show you what I got going for the Fairies and Bees so far. So like I said, I've just been doing a lot of infrastructure work associated with the split screen multiplayer. Maybe I shouldn't have done that because like I haven't even figured out what the game is. But since it's a game for fun, I can do what I want. I don't need to be efficient. It's all right. I have like a whole save load system in here. Ignore that. Pretend that didn't happen. But you can choose to have the keyboard and mouse be a player. Or, I guess I have a me player. We can show the character creator too. Or any connected gamepads. Like if I connect another gamepad, let's connect another one really fast. Oh geez, too much stuff on my desk. What is that connected to? Let's just yank out USB cables and hope nothing crashes. Oh, it didn't recognize it though. All right, well, it's not working, I guess. It's supposed to just see that I connected another controller and give me another option. Oh, well, that's what I get for trying to do a live demo. In any case, I do have one controller connected, so we can do at least 2 players here. And we dropped in, this was a pre-existing player. Oops, I guess that's the one associated with the keyboard. That's the pre-existing player. You can see there's some conflicts here between focus between the 2 split screen areas. There's a Godot PR that helps address this that I haven't started playing with yet, but it looks good. I think it's going to help with this situation. Say new, and we'll say this one's a fire fairy, and we'll say finished. Okay, now we have the 2 characters split screen. Yay! And that's at this point all there really is to the game. So let's see if today, during the course of our stream, we can make this be fun. Yeah, and I'm happy to take your guys' suggestions, given that, like I said, I really don't have any preconceived ideas. I think probably the first thing I want to mess with is movement, to make that feel good. Right now, the movement speed is just painfully slow. I think there could be some fun things that we could do with movement, given they're fairies. We could make them fly. I think that would be interesting. Given that it's a top-down game, I think I would limit that to maybe more like hovering. Like they'd go a little bit higher up and have kind of like an animation and maybe have a higher movement speed or something. We can have like a dash. Dashes feel good in these kind of circumstances. But just messing around with the different fields. I think playing around with the like elemental attacks could be fun too. That maybe we won't get to today. I mean, just messing with movement could take up probably the whole time. But yeah, any cool ideas you guys have, let's The Bee movie. I've seen that movie a million times, Ricardo. My daughters used to watch it every time we went over by my folks' house. Seinfeld being the you like jazz guy. Yeah, there are no bees yet. We could what should we do with the bees? I don't even know. Like to go with the lore the lore invented by my children, the bees are like the minions of the good fairies, and then there's these dark fairies who have the bats are their minions, which I guess kind of makes sense. I think bats eat bees. I mean, they eat insects. Anyway, if you guys have any cool ideas for the bees, I'm really not sure. Like they could be, sort of circling around. There could be like a sort of farming aspect to it. You could like place your apiaries and well, I mean they're fairies, so would you place apiaries? Probably not, right? Because you're in tune with nature. So maybe you would I don't know. How would you get there to be more beehives? Maybe if there's a beehive, you would try and grow its population to a point that it would like swarm and go make a new beehive. I think having a sort of undercurrent of like trying to support or defend nature or restore nature, I think would be good, given that it's fairies, and they seem to have this connection to nature. Ooh, collecting anything. Yeah. So some level of farming or planting or building or something like that, I think would be really interesting to my daughters. We do play a bunch of Stardew Valley and Minecraft, and like those kind of have those sort of elements. Nothing super sophisticated though. I mean, something that we can that's simple but gives the feeling of those things, I think would be good. But yeah, collecting I think is an interesting idea. So one thought I had in the sort of like reclaiming nature idea is there's maybe like a darkness over some environment, and then you do whatever it is your fairy actions to restore that, which could involve some sort of planting, or it could be collecting. Maybe there's things that are causing harm to the environment, and you need to destroy them or gather them, or no, the gathering could be more like every time you restore an area, it generates like nature power, and then you go collect it. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas here. Pollination, yeah, pollination could be interesting. Bees relate to flowers, so something with flowers could be cool. Anyway, let's let's start simple and think about movement. The multiplayer, the split screen multiplayer thing has made dealing with the input map kind of a mess. We can't fully use it, unfortunately. I guess I do have the keyboard controls in here, but for the gamepads, I had to do some stuff. Where would that be? For the gamepads, was that in game state? Yeah, so like the input map needs to be dynamically created as gamepads join and leave, which kind of sucks. I mean, I could conceivably like create 4 sets of actions that are all the same and do them in the project settings, but that's number one tedious, but also with this focus thing. I think I am going to have to sometimes bind some UI actions to the gamepads and sometimes remove them to deal with, just Godot not being totally set up to handle the idea of multiple inputs controlling the game or different aspects of the game at the same time, or I guess different aspects of the UI at the same time, because it's really the UI that causes the problems. Anyway. First things first, you guys didn't see this when I was testing it, but right now it just has the D-pad, and I definitely want to get the analog stick also as an option for the gamepad. And then I think probably we'll want to have a state machine for controlling the character's movement. And yeah, let's focus on the movement speed. and maybe some of the niceties with regard to movement, like acceleration, deceleration, a dash, maybe the flying thing. Let's start there. But like I said, if anyone has any super cool ideas, I'm willing to just drop whatever and test them out if they're like small enough, simple, testable ideas. Remember, we're only doing this for till 11 a.m. my time, so the next hour and 40 minutes. All right, so now the super annoying job of assigning these joypad axes programmatically. Ooh, protecting the bees from the evil fairies? That could be interesting. Okay, so let's say... Okay. I have an idea. We say there's like... okay, well, I feel like I need to draw. Probably the drawing will add nothing to the situation, but let me... the urge to draw is coming over me here, so let's satisfy that urge. Let me just get my tablet hopefully lined up with the mouse. Yes, it is. So let's say you're... how the heck do I move this with this app? I don't remember. So let's say there's a world, and you start out with kind of like this sort of like safe zone, and you move out into the other sort of zones, like you just sort of pick an area over here, and let's say it's I don't know, the evil is on it. The evil is on this area. And so then our goal is maybe to spread like flowers over here, which then promote the bees to help us make more flowers. So like it's all about getting the flowers into the evil areas to revitalize them. And then the dark fairies and their bats are coming at your bees, and you need to defend those bees to keep this sort of like virtuous cycle going of producing more flowers. Drawing is crucially important in planning. Never underestimate it. Yes, but you see the resulting drawing, which could be anything. This could be a CD with some sort of gunk stuck to it. Anyway, yeah, those are some cool ideas. It would be kind of fun to prototype like the propagation of the flowers into the area. I could see us, starting by maybe how the heck do I? Sorry, I had a sneeze there. How do I scroll this? Oh, there we go. So we could, Well, actually, okay. Let's start without the evil mechanic. Let's just think about flower propagation. So let's say you put down a flower, and you've got a beehive, and your bees now are traveling to and from the flowers, which I'm not entirely sure how the reproductive cycle of flowers works, but I know that they need to be pollinated to reproduce. So somehow the bees going to the flowers leads to more flowers. So then this area keeps growing, which would lead to some sort of like also increase in the bee population and like the health of the beehive. And then to gamify it, we would just need the two sort of push and pull forces of the radius of the flowers kind of like pushing away the darkness, and then our bats. That's a horrible bat. This is why the art is going to be not great in this game. But that's okay. That's not the point. They're coming at the bees. I don't know. I think that could be cool. I think that could be cool. All right. Let's unsidetrack myself once again, and let's work on the movement. So we have a technical task. We need to bind the stick axis so we can deal with analog input as we're working on our movement. which I'm just going to do this really quick here to remember how this is done. So we have joypad axes, axis 1, stick, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so there's got to be a joy axis event, input event joy axis. Const gamepad, we'll say joy axis actions. And we'll do something similar. Let's look in the docs for a second here. Joy axis. Okay, it's going to be input event joypad motion. Joypad motion. And what we need for that is, wow, how the heck does this work? Maybe I should just add one here and then look in the project settings files. I hate that we have to do this dynamically. I could cheat and just do it not dynamically for the sake of the stream, which maybe I'll fall back on if this seems too weird. But long term, they need to be dynamically added. So that was keyboard up, and I just attached a random event. So we say the device, the axis, and the value. Okay, I guess that makes sense. So we give the value to say whether it's left or right for the event. All right, back to dynamically setting these up. So we need, in each one, we need an axis. And what are the axis values? I guess they're just in, oh, joy axis. Okay, here we go. Or do we need a value? Oh yes, we do. So the left and right here refers to which stick on the joypad, not whether we're going left or right. Okay, so we're always dealing in left. Okay, so joy axis joy. Why am I not getting autocomplete? Joy axis left x, and that's axis, or it was value. And then here we get our -1. And then I think we just do this for each of them, and then we'll dynamically create those events. This is one of those tasks I should have done before the stream. Sorry for sticking you guys with this. Oops. But we'll get it done. Shouldn't take too long. And if anyone has ever wondered how to dynamically edit the input map, I guess this is an example of that. Probably not the greatest example. I guess it teaches you that it's annoying to do if you have to do it, but totally possible in case you're doing something fancy. Oh my god. There we go. Okay, so we're going to be looping over those for action name in gamepad joy axis actions. And then we need to call a new method we're going to make up. Gamepad, we'll say axis action. How does the original one work? We give it an action name, and then the info. So the info we have is which axis, so p axis, which is an integer, or actually I guess it's a joy axis in num, and then the value, which is a float. So we're passing in axis action, the axis, And then we'll copy paste this guy. If I can type. Too few arguments for... Oh, did I just like overwrite the original method? I didn't mean to do that. I meant to copy it. Wow. That's stream brain. I have a theory that you start streaming, you get about, 50% stupider. Okay, so this was supposed to have p name and p button. Hey, Luis Antonio! Create a Siri multiplayer. So we are working on a local multiplayer game today. I know that online multiplayer is kind of my thing. I have a whole bunch of existing games and tutorials and things about online multiplayer. But today I'm doing a split screen local multiplayer thing, which as I mentioned earlier, I've never done before, and it's very interesting. There's a whole different interesting set of problems, at least as it comes to like making the engine work well in this situation. This is gamepad axis action. All right, so I know all these actions are going to exist, but let's start with that. We need to do basically the same stuff as the other one, except instead of making an input event joypad button, we're making input event joypad motion. So as you can see, like the input map in Godot, you're actually storing like the events that you're looking for to trigger that action, which is why, or maybe not why, but that makes it very, very easy to implement the thing where you say like you want to change a keyboard mapping, and you say press the button that you want to be the new button for this mapping. You can just listen for whatever the next event is going to be, and then stash that straight away into the input map. It's a very clever way to do it. Okay, so axis, and we have p axis, and I think it was actually axis value, if I'm remembering the docs right. Yep, axis value equals p value, and we add that. Okay. Theoretically, if we've written all this code correctly, suddenly the joystick should work to move our fairy. Nope, I did something wrong. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, I forgot to change this to num. Okay, or not a num. This constant that we're using, this dictionary. We're looking in the button actions. We need to look in the joy axis actions. Take two. All right. So, I did it with the keyboard. Man, I think we might need to make a faster way to get through these menus too, or it's going to drive me crazy having to go through these every time. And here's the D-pad, and here is the joystick, and it is in fact slower. The movement was slow to begin with. Yeah, I can feel how just slightly slower it is with the stick. I bet it's an issue with the stick never fully reaching 1. Or is it slower? It certainly feels slower. If it's not actually slower, it definitely feels slower. We can get some debug output to see if it is in fact slower. But let's get down to what we really want to work on here, which is the movement. We're normalizing it. So that should be making it be length 1 no matter what. It shouldn't be slower. It does feel slower. It's weird. Maybe it's just part of the sort of tactile feel of a joystick. To make double extra sure that it isn't slower, Let's print it out. You know, I think it is actually slower, and I think it's because when I'm pressing down, for example, oh, and she walks sideways too when I'm trying to go straight up and down, because it's counting that as diagonal. Okay, so when I go straight up and down, well, this is even weird. Can you guys see the direction down here? It's not perfectly one up and down, and I'm pressing the D-pad. It's only for up and down. Oh, no, now it's perfect. Weird. Okay, and then I do the joystick again. Yeah, we're never perfectly hitting one. And we're always slightly diagonal. So I think what I need is some sort of tolerances so that we have the joystick and we sort of break it up into quadrants, or maybe I guess even smaller than that, right? It would need to be like this whole area being down and this whole area being up, and then not counting it as diagonal until we kind of go out of those areas. It's like diagonal would exist in this space. Not very interesting, though. I know. Are you, David, somewhat available off stream, like on the server? Don't want to bother you too much with the mobile project at the moment, but I'd be glad to share it with you how it's going later on. Yeah, I mean, I would. So I am like very medium available on the server. I try to be like, I try really hard to stay connected with what people are doing on Discord, because there are some really great folks on my Discord, and I love hanging out with you. Lately, I've been like just crazy busy though. But yeah, please share how your project is going on the Discord. I would love to hear about it. Especially if you do end up porting that plugin to Godot 4, I'd be very curious about your experience with that. But yeah, so the movement mechanic is funky. Smokey, might there be some crosstalk between the D-pad and joystick, since the joystick might not be at 0, even when you're not touching it? Oh, that's a good theory. I think it might be onto something. Okay, so I'll fidget with the joystick for a little while. And then it goes to this situation where up and down are off center. Then I go like this. And then we're back. Yeah, it is. It could definitely be some sort of weird interaction, some crosstalk, as you say, because I mess with the joystick, and then all of a sudden, up and down become not perfectly aligned. And it's interesting that she's always tilted to the right. If I go to the right, does it stay? No. If I move left or right, then it kind of loses that weird feeling. But yeah, I can say for sure, like, I'm glad that it's supported by the numbers and isn't all in my head. It feels way crappier to use the joystick than it does the D-pad. I mean, it's a slight difference, but yeah, it feels just like that much more sluggish. All right, so what to address first? I mean, we need to make her faster. We need to deal with her direction not being quite straight. I don't want to use this editor, though. Hang on. I'm going to totally screw myself up if I leave this open. Close all. We want to be over in VS Code. Okay. So we're going to need to do a little bit of surgery on this vector when we get it. I'm thinking what problem to address first. We need to... Okay, we need some kind of tolerance to make for perfect directional movements beyond just the animation. So when we're pressing mostly down, we still want to use the down animation, but if we're pressing slightly off down, we still want to use the down animation, but also we would want to do the not quite down movement. We need to snap. We need to snap to the cardinal directions a little bit. And then beyond that little bit of snapping, we need to also ensure that the animation stays correct. What is the best way to do that? We have got a vector. We could deal with this in terms of angles. That is definitely the easiest option for the human brain. How will we deal with this in terms of angles? The naive approach would be to special case for each of the 8 directions that we want to snap to. But ideally, we'd be able to do it without special casing for each of those, that we could come up with a way to do this without it. So I'm thinking if we get the angle and divide by, what would that be? So 2 pi is the full circle, 1 pi is half circle, half pi is a quarter. We would need a quarter pi. So if we divide by quarter pi, can we snap to the nearest quarter pi within a particular tolerance? Clamping the individual inputs before normalizing the vector should do that, I think. Oh, will it? So if what we have is an axis going this way. No, because I mean it's the interaction between the up and down that that we're looking at, right? Not the individual axes themselves, but the sort of interaction between the two. I guess either that or I'm just not seeing your proposed solution. If you could bust out some math in the chat, Smoloki, I'd love to see it, because you might be seeing something that I'm not seeing. And while I'm waiting for that to potentially happen, there's always delays in these stream chats. I'm going to attempt my original thought and see if it gets anywhere. So we get the angle. We're going to get the, I don't know, we'll call it, I want to call it a quadrant, but it's not a quadrant, it's an octant. I'll say octant is the angle divided by quarter pi. And then we're trying to see how close it is to either 0 or how close it is to 0 or the full pi. One thing we need to take into account, is this ever going to give me a negative angle? I hope not, because that will create problems. So then we want to say if, hang on, so we'll make a constant here. This will be like angle movement angle snap. So this would be like the number of radians close to one of the ends that we want to snap to. So I'm going to make this be, let's say, a 16th of pi. So then if we say if the angle is less than movement angle snap, been running too much C++, throwing some brackets in there, then angle should be 0. Oh, wait, is this going to work if angle becomes 0? Okay, I think my idea of breaking this up into octants is slightly flawed. Because what I'm thinking is we we address just the octant, and then we multiply it back out to get the whole thing. But that's not going to work if one of them becomes 0. I think what we have to do is something a little bit fancier. We need to essentially like modulo this, but we're not dealing with integers. So I think that looks like floor angle times, or okay, base times pi divided by 4. And we should probably make a constant for that. And then octant equals angle minus base. Does that seem right? Smokey, oh, I thought the issue was that you always have slight or left-right component when moving up or down because the joystick isn't always perfectly. Yeah, so that is a symptom of the same problem, but I'm trying to, I guess, address. Yeah. So that definitely, Smokey, I see that could be a solution to that specific problem, for sure. I'm trying to address it in a slightly different way, though, because we have another problem that I don't. When I'm pressing up, I want to move up here up. When I'm pressing up presently, I'm moving like slightly to a side, which means that my movement speed upward is slower. It feels slower because I'm making this slight movement to the right while making like a smaller movement up. I mean, yeah, we could, but I want it to. Let's try doing this kind of thing where we're snapping, and if that turns out to be complete garbage, let's switch to binary movement. But I want it to feel good. Particularly, I know my daughters, when they play games, they like never use the D-pad. They always use the stick. And I want it to feel fluid. But maybe you're right. Maybe just going binary would be better, because it does feel fine, honestly, using the D-pad, other than the movement speed being way too slow. But let's try this. Do you guys understand what I'm trying to do here with the angle, or is this like complete gibberish too? Because I could draw a picture and attempt to explain it. I don't know if it'll be a good explanation or not. I'm putting parens around this too, which is not quite right. All right, so we need a pi div 4 constant. Pi div 4. My first console was a PS2. I grew up with joysticks. Yeah, the first console I used was probably, I don't know, what would it be? Oh, it's also convoluted in the past, right? So the first computer I had was definitely a Commodore 64. I didn't own a console until much later. My neighbors had an NES. But like my aunt had an Atari. Did I play her Atari before I played my neighbor's NES? I don't know. But definitely, I mean, the Atari had a joystick. And a joystick and one button. But yeah, the NES would have been D-pad all the way. Is it greater than pi div 4 minus movement angle snap? Then angle would equal exactly pi div 4. And then we say let's rename this. We'll call this input vector. And then direction is going to be a new vector that's at an angle. How do we create a vector that's an angle? I don't remember. I guess we say rotated. Okay, so we'd start with a right vector and rotate it. All right, and because I'm sure I got this wrong, the C64 joysticks too, didn't it? Yes, it did. It also was an optional accessory. We did have the joystick though, and definitely we had games that we played with the joystick. The Commodore 64 is such a weird system. Like it had arrow keys, but you had to press Shift. There were two arrow keys, and you had to press Shift to access the other direction. It was like you could go left or right on one of the keys, and you press Shift to switch between which one. I don't remember which one is which. And then the other one went up and down. Input was weird. Was weird in the day. All right, so I'm going to print input vector. And I'm going to print angle. I'm going to print rounded angle, which I guess is, oh wait, what am I doing here? Okay, the rounded angle is down here. That would be base. Oh, here we go. We don't even need to do the extra math. We'll say this is base, and this equals base plus pi div 4. There we go. So then the new angle is here, and then the new direction, rounded direction. Oh, and I already was printing that here, but whatever. Let's see what this does. Dunk, 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 dunk. It's definitely not working. Oh, because it's not taking into account not moving. We need to bypass this whole thing if we're not moving. If input vector equals vector to 0, which maybe it won't actually equal, or we'll say if it does not equal that, then we do this. We're going to need our direction down here. With how complicated this is getting, I'm already suspecting that this is just a bad idea. But let's find out. All right, so we're at least not moving, and we are basically moving correctly when I press the directions. But are we snapping? We don't appear to be snapping. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. Starting to see why people used to say consoles are less of a hassle than home computers for games. Okay, so I'm going to try to press... Well, actually, let's just do this with the D-pad first, because the D-pad should be perfect. All right, so we get the input vector is a little bit off, and the rounded direction is perfect. That's interesting. We'll try left and right. Here we don't have the weird inconsistency. Oh, there it rounded way crazy. Oh, because the angle it decided was in fact pi, or pi enough. Ooh. Okay, well, we break down completely when we try to go left here, at least with the D-pad. Oh, I'm getting this math totally wrong somewhere. Why are we getting the math so wrong, though? So, input vector is completely left. We end up with pi as the angle. And then somehow we're rounding up. We're adding an extra quarter pi. Hey, Kosen Bimo, welcome to the stream. Yes, you can make a mobile game with Godot. We were just talking about a project that Nionel was going to be doing in Godot for mobile. I've made a couple of small mobile games for Godot, nothing super interesting. I work mostly not on mobile, but yes, you absolutely can. I've also only ever done Android. I don't know if you're thinking about Android or iOS, but it can do both just fine. Okay, so let's say our angle is exactly pi. We divide it by pi to 4, multiply by pi to 4. We should end up with, the base should end up being pi, and then the angle minus pi should end up give us 0. Oh, I'm comparing the wrong thing. I'm surprised that worked as well as it did. Ooh, now down is failing us. Or at least it's failing us as much as before. Okay, so up. This stuff seems right, actually. Other than we're getting a negative 0. Okay, actually, we are not snapping. I think we might go with Smoloki's idea. Is the Godot program language is like Java? No, it's not terribly similar to. You're thinking of GDScript. You're asking if GDScript is similar to Java. It's not super similar to Java. It's object oriented like Java is. And so I guess Java does pretty heavily use object oriented concepts in general. So in that way, it's similar. But syntactically, it's much closer to Python than Java. All right. Let's abandon my snapping idea. We're tossing this out. I think I probably could have gotten the math right eventually, but I don't know that it's worth it. I don't know that it's worth it. So let's just say we're going to do pure binary directions. I guess we need to just make sure if one of the directions is over a particular dead zone, then we count it as 1. Is there a fast way to do that, or do we just compare them all? So we get the whole vector, or we can get the individual axes. Clamp keeps us between values. Or I guess we can round. We can, well, we can't, can we round up and down together? Crabsoft, welcome to the stream! So we are trying to improve movement in this little game that I've made to play with my daughters. But I'm getting caught up on details. I need to move the heck on. I need to move the heck on. So let's just do this as dumb as possible, just to get to the next thing. So we'll say input get or actually we could just do is action pressed. And ignore the fact that the joy axes are axes. Say is action pressed input prefix plus left, and then we'll just do input vector x equals -1, and roll like that through these. Multiply then round, or multiply then modulo? Yeah, I'm just going to go the dumb way. There we go. Oh, that won't help us though, will it? Because we're going to get stuck with... We still need to round them somehow, because we're still going to get this off-center problem. So we do need a dead zone. I hate this. Okay. Are we able to use Godot's dead zone stuff? I know there's some dead zone stuff in the input map. We have a dead zone here. We're creating these actions dynamically. Does that... do we need to do something to add the dead zone? So has action, add action. This includes a dead zone of 0.5 automatically. All right, well, let's just see what happens. Let's just see what happens. Add a var here. So D-pad, perfect. Stick, perfect. All right. I think we're taking advantage of the dead zone from Godot, because I'm pressing up and down, I know not exactly correctly, and we're getting a pure up and down. I'm sort of wiggling the stick a little bit to see how far I have to go before it switches to diagonal, and it's pretty far. All right, we're good. Ship it. Let me see what other folks are saying in here. What should I try for a beginner, Godot or Unity? I have basic at Java and JavaScript. If no one's answering the beginner question, I do personally think Godot is super easy for beginners. I have not learned Unity, but talking to Unity people, it does seem like there is a little bit more of an initial learning curve. That said, I believe Unity is, easier to use than, say, Unreal or writing your own engine. But I do think Godot is great for beginners. Fasolatido says get input vector. We started with get input vector, and it was giving us some bad feeling movement. So we've switched away from that. The problem was with not exact directions. Pressing up but not exactly up would feel sluggish because you're not moving as fast as you feel like you should be moving. So what we were doing earlier in the stream, which you missed, was we were trying to set up some snap angles to snap the input to the closest of the 8 directions that we want to support. And I think I could have gotten the math working, but I gave up, and we just switched to this binary movement. But it is implementing the dead zone the way that we want, and it's working much better than the get input vector version. Yeah, checking if an axis is not 0 won't work in this case because we're getting just tons of tiny values that felt bad. Very scientific game dev terms. It felt bad. All right, so we need to increase the movement speed for sure. I think some amount of acceleration and deceleration would be good. For that, we're going to need to track our velocity over time, which I guess we're already doing because this is Godot 4 velocity is like a member variable. So then instead of directly setting velocity, we would set a target velocity, which I guess is the same thing here. Our target velocity. And we will, I guess, gradually change our... well, no, okay, so we don't want to... gradually change our direction. That's wrong. We just want to gradually change our speed. So how will we do that? So we'll get, I guess, we need to get our current speed. So current speed would be our velocity length, and then our target speed is speed. So actually, let's just call this speed because it's only going to be current speed for a second. And then we want to, I guess, lerp towards speed equals... Wait, what's the difference between lerp and lerp-f? Lerp variant? I have no idea why you'd want to use lerp-f versus lerp when normal lerp can take floating point values as well. Anyway, so we're going to lerp from our speed to speed. And let's just pick an arbitrary value. And we'll multiply our direction by speed. Okay, give us a little bit of acceleration, deceleration, and we want to just increase the movement speed in general. It's way too slow. We'll double it. We'll take the Sid Meier rule. Yeah, it takes her a little bit to get going. And the stop isn't quite as long as I feel like it should be. Why is that? Some things, it's like she's stopping instantly. Normalized. Oh, okay, because we're always multiplying speed by direction. Man, it's been so long since I've implemented these kind of mechanics. I don't remember exactly how I want to do this. I guess we can go for what you're saying, Smoloki, and what I was originally going to do, but I don't really want us to lerp our direction so much as I just want to lerp our speed. All right, we'll try it. We'll see how it feels like. Target velocity equals direction times speed, and then we will lerp our velocity from velocity to target velocity, some arbitrary weight. And yeah, this isn't actually quite right either. We don't want to base this off of direction. This is the animation, so we don't want to go idle. I was going to say we don't want to go idle as soon as we stop pressing it. We want to go idle when we stop moving, but I don't think we want to go idle at all. But that's a different problem. Let's just switch this for now. Yeah. At this point I am. There we go. It's definitely not quick enough. And the animations are all wrong. But yeah, that seems mostly right. All right, let's futz with this a little bit. So we need to keep track of not just velocity. We also need to keep track of like the direction we're facing. So let's separate those things. We need vector 2. Yeah, it's super floaty. But I think that's because the weight is too small. So we can add a constant for that too. So it'd be like speed lerp weight, and let's make it I don't know, we'll say 0.3 for fun. And okay, so we need to rework all of this. Direction does become that. But then velocity is direction times speed. These things need to be done a little bit differently. Maybe make it so the direction isn't updated when input vector normalized equals 0. Then you could use, yeah. So if input vector does not equal vector to 0, so we maintain the original direction, and we say direction, and then we need a different reason to go idle. I guess we'll stick with the idea. No, we're not going to go idle. We're going to go a direction, but if we're not moving, if the length of our velocity is 0, then we want to just have like the first frame of the animation played. So we say if velocity length function equals 0, then visual animation player stop. Will that work? Or actually, it's the same thing here. So we can say if it equals this, if not. Let's try this. See what this does. Whoa, she never stops. There is no stopping. Yeah, we need to do okay, so then direction, and then we need to bail early. Or are we bailing early and that's causing the problem? Okay, what's going on here? Target velocity equals direction times speed. Oh, okay, so target velocity needs to be 0 when we're not moving. So target velocity. So if input direction is not equal vector to 0, then we can make this whole branch be. No, we can't. I was gonna say we could combine these two if-else statements, but I don't think that we can. Target velocity. Or we can write this way shorter. Equals direction times speed if input direction, or if input vector does not equal vector to 0, else vector to 0. I feel so out of practice. I've not worked on a 2D game of any kind in a long time. Yeah, this is super floaty. It's not just the weight. I think it's because we're lerping the direction as well as the speed. Like, what we really want is just to lerp the speed, but not the direction. Although maybe floaty is okay, you're a fairy. But we definitely need to have the deceleration be faster than the acceleration. And I don't know why the animation player doesn't stop. I didn't really think this was going to work anyway, but it's kind of surprising that it doesn't. Okay, so we only want to start in animation when we're actually moving. So that would go, this could go here. Oh, I'm missing so many things. Da, 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 da. I think you need to change the alert back to what you had before. Maybe velocity doesn't quite reach 0 because of weird floating point weirdness. Possibly. Yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense. So we would never quite hit 0. Let's verify that theory. Let's print out velocity and see what happens. Yep. Still doesn't help us when it does reach 0, though, that the animation keeps running. Okay. Man, I thought this would be like a light, easy stream. We'd get lots of things done, and I'm just like hung up on dumb, simple movement math that I have done like 100 times, but I'm just struggling with today because I haven't done it in a really long time. Do we go back to the drawing board? Let me just grab like a random top-down game I did in the past, and let me see how it feels. So for example, Monster Evolution, a game I did for a Godot Wild Jam. Ooh, I don't know if you guys hear that audio or not. Hopefully it won't be too loud and annoying. So there is like absolutely no acceleration or deceleration on this. And it feels good. That's interesting, like the bounce back on the on his dash move. I quite like that. Okay, let's take a peek at how this works. Okay, so we are doing a thing with direction. I made a custom move and slide for some reason. Oh, that's interesting. I made a custom move and slide that allows you to push things that you collide with a little bit before sliding you. Very interesting. Okay, so physics process, get floor velocity? How does this thing work? Oh, I did a state machine. Okay, we definitely need a state machine in general. So where's the actual math on this? So control, get input vector, check for player attack input. Idle. So this is just straight input vector, which is what we tried originally. And then yeah, that's simple enough. Checking for attacking and not moving. If so, then we go here. Otherwise, we do move, which changes our direction, sets a vector. To do, accelerate to top speed. I guess I decided not to do that. I didn't it. And then this custom move and slide. Why does that feel so crappy, though, when we did it with the fairy? Because it really does. It really does feel crappy. Let's change this up. So, number one, I'm going to close all these because it's going to confuse me later. Number two. Hey Ross, welcome to the stream. It's been a long time since we've chatted, my friend. Ross says pretty configurable and tweakable variables make sense until around 6.3, section 6.3. I'm not sure what you're referring to with 6.3. But I don't know. I'm just gonna sort of trash this for the moment and start over here. So we have an input vector, which we are getting. We had Did I miss a link? I didn't see the link. I'm so lost. So lost on my own stream. Anyway, so get get vector, and I forget exactly how this works. We can look in the get to steal my old code. This. And let's just do the most naive thing possible, which is do I need to have a distinction between this and direction? No, we'll just call it direction. We'll take this code. Doesn't really matter. Then we'll set velocity equals our direction times speed, move and slide. Yeah, this does not feel good. Why does it not feel good? Okay, I can't walk straight up. And yet over here, I can walk straight up and down like no problem. And straight left and right, no problem. Angles. I mean, I guess that's because the switch from the binary to a vector, but this one does a vector too, doesn't it? I cannot believe that I've taken up the whole stream on this. I'm sorry to the universe, to the internetiverse. It's the exact same thing. What? What? Because we do move. It's just as this. And our move and slide, our custom move and slide. Which is straightforward, like that's... I cannot walk straight left and right. Or straight up and down. What? Hey, Andreas, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I don't know where your link went. I never saw it. It looks like you're on YouTube. YouTube is weird about links. If you go to Discord or to Twitch or to anywhere else that I'm streaming, Facebook, any of those places, the link is more likely to get through. Not sure if there's some sort of link filtering. Yeah. I don't know. I should have just ignored that this feels terrible and move on to the next thing, but the whole point was I wanted to make it feel good. I don't know why it feels so bad, though. I'm using the exact same controller. I mean, it's one's Godot 3 and one's Godot 4, but how much could this change? Is it like applying the dead zones differently? Get an input vector by specifying the 4 actions. This method is useful getting input vector to joystick directional pad with sound. Length limited to 1, and has a circular dead zone, which is useful for using input vector as movement. By default, the dead zone is automatically calculated from the average of the action dead zones. However, you can override the dead zone to whatever you want in a range of 0 to 1. I wonder if the circular dead zone is the difference. Like, if we look at the where the heck is it? So this one's Godot 3, which does not have get input vector. So I did this pattern that I did throughout like lots of my Godot 3 games. We're doing get action strength. Returns a value between 0 and 1 representing the given intensity of an action in a joypad. Further blah 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 is from the dead zone. If the action is mapped to a control, there's no access. Yeah, I think this implies that we're getting a square dead zone. Because if we're doing the two no, discard. I don't care. If we're doing the two axes separately, so it's using the dead zone, you know, here's the center, we have a dead zone here and a dead zone here. We end up with a square dead zone. But if get input vector in Godot 4, according to the docs at least, it does a circular dead zone. Maybe that's what causes the difference in the feeling of the movement. Let's test it. So let's replace this guy with we'll just write the code exactly the same as it was in the Godot 3 version. So we'll say vector 2. So we're x is first, so I guess that's input get is it get axis? Man, I'm bad at remembering things from 2 seconds ago. Get action strength minus. Okay, yeah, fine. Forget the axis thing. Let's just do it exactly like this. Get action strength. Get action strength. I guess that's input prefix plus right minus input get action strength input prefix plus left, and then input get action strength input prefix, and down is positive, so down minus input get action strength input prefix plus plus up normalized. All right. Oh, it's shadowing a variable we made in one of our earlier attempts at making this not feel terrible. And oh man, feels great, feels fantastic. What? All right, so the change in dead zone shape, very impactful for a top-down 2D game. Wow. I cannot believe that. This is probably my first attempt at making a 2D game in Godot 4. And I had to learn this dumb lesson. Oh my god. I've been doing mostly VR stuff in Godot 4 so far. Have I done any other 2D things? Like, I don't think so. Oh my god. Well, I'm really glad that we decided to go look at an old Godot 3 game and come to this conclusion. I was really happy seeing this get vector being added. I thought that was cool. That would save me from having to write this all the time. But it turns out that they are subtly different. They are subtly different. Oh my god. Okay. So, returning to the problem. So Andreas says, your guess for the circular dead zone might be right, because if you go left, right, dead zone is mostly 0. Therefore, a little shift leads to diagonal movement. Yeah, and that little bit of diagonal movement means you move slower, at least in the direction you're intending to go, which feels bad. And man, anyway, back to trying to do some of the things we were trying to do, which was very vague. It was make movement feel better, and it already feels better just from this stupid change. We were playing around with acceleration and deceleration. I'm not totally convinced that we need those, just from like playing this one for a second and seeing how good it felt without it. I mean, just having this dash actually like makes everything, even though it's a really clumsy dash actually, because it has this sort of like rubber banding back. I don't know, this feels good. The speed is good. Okay, let's forget about acceleration, deceleration. I guess first I want to make it so that the direction is stable, so that we're not going a direction and then snapping back to idle or continuing to animate. And that's an easy thing to fix. The way that I was trying to fix it, I feel like should have worked. Where if we go left, start the animation player, and then immediately stop the animation player, but that does not work. We can memorize like which frames are the pure directions. That is a possibility. Otherwise, I think we could just make animations that represent the pure directions. This does seem weird though. Like, shouldn't this work? If we say play then stop, like I feel like that should work. Let's just try that one more time because we were doing a whole bunch of other crap here, and let's just try not doing that. Oh, also we need this. So this game is not pixel perfect, but it's pixel aligned. I decided to go through for this thing that's kind of like halfway between not caring about pixel alignment and going to fully pixel perfect to this sort of like pixel aligned thing. And this magic does that, helps do that. There's a whole bunch of different pieces working to do that. So velocity equals this, and we got to say something like we had before, which was if velocity equals vector 2, 0, then we do this. If it doesn't, then visual animation player stop. Let's see if just that works. Oh, well, now we're not moving. Did I reverse a Boolean? If it does not equal 0. Yeah, okay. Now it works. It is a little weird on the edges. Yeah, like, because if we sort of go like, we can make her glide around a little bit. But that's fine. I think that's fine for this stage. Oh, I'm curious about this link now. Now that I can actually get it. Thanks, Ross, for posting it over in Discord land. Oops, that is not what I meant to move over. That is wrong. Autonomous agents. Autonomous agent generally refers to an entity that moves on its own choice in an environment. Since I missed when this showed up originally, I missed exactly the context that this was brought up in. Oh, I guess it may be in the steering force here. Yeah, okay, this is exactly what we were talking about before, as far as okay, so you have this velocity, desired velocity. Awesome. Yeah, I don't know that we would want our acceleration and deceleration to work this way for a human character, where I think we would want to not have it round out so much. But yeah, this is good stuff. Thanks for sharing this link. Yeah, yeah, maybe there's just a way to tweak it to make it like slightly more angular and less round to make it more human shaped rather than vehicular shaped. All right, so we got the movement speed. Let's mess around with maybe a dash of some kind. Actually, let me commit this because we've made some things work. And then the more times I commit, it means the more times I can wipe things out completely and start over when we do something wrong. Oh, and there's some stuff we don't need here at all anymore. Let me remove all those variables from earlier attempts. Andrea says, could you remember the animation frame for the up movement and continue exactly with the frame. Oh, yeah. Let's try Andreas's thing. Andreas's idea here. Yeah. So instead of restarting, we would just resume. Let's go look at the API on Animation Player really quick. Animation Player. So, so play doesn't seem to help us. Pause pauses the current animation. Animation will be kept. So what is it that we're actually trying to do here? So we want to, when we stop moving, to go immediately to the first frame, but when we start moving again, to resume from the exact place we were in the animation player before, which could still be wrong though, right? Because what if the place we were in the animation player before is the current spot? No, because I could only make it shorter. It couldn't make it longer. No, I think that is what we want. Okay. Okay, so can we set where we start playing from? Pauses the current playing animation. Can we set where we are in the, or get and set where we are in the current animation position? Position in seconds, currently playing animation. And if we call play, how do we unpause without calling play again? Pause the current animation. The current animation will be kept, and calling play or play backwards without arguments or with the same animation name as a sign animation will resume the animation. Okay, this is almost exactly what we want. We just need a couple little special cases here. So if we say pause, and then we need to, I guess, assign the animation frame without using the animation player. So oh, and you're actually saying something different, Andreas. Could you remember the animation frame for the up movement and continue with exactly that frame in the right movement animation when switching from up to right? I thought you were talking about fixing the problem where I can sort of like tap the controller, tap the stick on the controller and have us like stay on the same frame. But you're actually talking about a slightly different thing, which is also interesting. So let's try to address both of these problems at once. And I gotta watch the time. It's 10:44 right now. At 11 o'clock, I have a work meeting, and I think I can be slightly late because I think last time I saw people were saying, well, they were going to account for extra time for a meeting they're getting out of as well. But yeah, I need to not lose track of time. So what we want is something like target animation. And maybe actually let's not give it a type. Or no, let's give it a type. Types are fun. And we'll say target animation equals right. Target animation equals left. Up. And down. And then we need to say something like var current, and I'll say current animation position. I don't know if it's giving me that suggestion, but it's fine. We'll say equals visual animation player current animation position. And then we would do something like okay, so for the first issue, switching but keeping the same time, we would do that by doing something like if target animation does not equal animation visual animation player current animation, then we'll do visual animation player play target animation, and then we'll reset visual animation player current animation position equals current animation position. And then for the other case, we don't want to pause, really. We want to somehow, I mean, we do want to pause, but we want to also somehow show whatever the first frame of the animation is supposed to be. Should be the same for both cases, or well, I mean, should it? Like, I just don't want the player to be stuck with their foot half out, right? And I need to somehow the way that we are making it revert to the first frame originally was by basically playing the animation and stopping it right away, which would send it back to the beginning. I think, Remy, I think I got the link. Ross forwarded it to the Discord, so we were able to get it here. Maybe an extra stop. We want to stop it, but then we want to start back up. Or maybe we do... Maybe we play and then stop here, but then we would still need to know where to start up again. Maybe we keep track of the current animation position, like as a variable for the class. Oh, is not the same link? Oh, okay. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your link as well, Remy. Let's address one thing at a time here. I'm just going to put this as pause, and let's just see what happens if the first part of this comes through. Whoa! Cannot set value because it is read only. How are you supposed to set the position in the animation? I'm sure that we did this in the rollback netcode add-on. Let's go look at the API again. Oh, is there like a seek? There's totally a seek. Okay, seeks the animation to the seconds point in time, so hopefully not relative to where we are right now. If update is true, the animation updates too, otherwise it updates the processing. Oh, so we can use this. We can use this. Okay, so we'll do current animation position as a class variable, and then we fill it here. No, there's just too many cases here. Okay, so we set these, but we only want to grab the current animation position if or wait, can we do this? Hang on. So we're playing to the right, for example. Now we want to stop going to the right, and then we want to jump back to the beginning, so that's seek 0, and then we want to animation player seek back to where we were already, but don't update it. Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm still trying to set that variable. Okay, I just need to delete that line. So this needs to be visual animation player seek current animation position. It's actually quite hard to tell if it's working or not. But we at least know that we are maintaining direction. So that's good. And then can I do this? I still sort of can. No, I think that's working fundamentally. I mean, it's still weird, but it's we do still sort of appear to slide if we I wonder if what we want is not to start where we left off, but to always go quickly to the next to frame 2. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Anyway, we've descended into working on a thing that I don't really think matters. At least not very much. All right, so the question is, do I keep this mess of code we just added? Or not? So really the most weird part is this part. Let me just try this slight change. Oh, okay. That actually completely solves that problem. Or at least I can't seem to cause it anymore. Yeah, okay. Works. All right, here's Remy's link. And I'm going to commit this. Thanks, Andreas, for the idea. That turned out to work quite well, ultimately. So, okay, let me put some comments. Start next. And I actually don't think we need this. this variable I put up here. Oh, let me test that we don't need it. Because I'm about to commit some stuff. Yeah, so at least for that one we don't. This one we don't either. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to add some comments, I'm going to make a commit, then I'm going to check out Remy's link, and then I think that will probably be the end of the stream for today. So start next animation at the same spot as the previous animation. This is put animation, or show first frame from animation, but seek back to original position to resume from there. All right. Oh, and I guess we need to also check, I'm seeing this error down here, we also need to check if it is currently playing. So actually we have to say if visual animation player is playing, or, so we have to say not is playing. If it's not playing, we always go here. Oh, but that's getting the position. Blah. I don't know. Forget this. I'll deal with the error later. I'll deal with the error later. The code works. We'll figure out some set of conditions that will make it so we don't spam that error. All right. Fix animation changing smoothly. All right. Now, see this link. Spring it on, the game developers spring roll call. We're going down to GIF. Object suddenly realize it should be in a different position. So you're talking about this damper stuff? Is that the whole? Okay, then spring damper. So different ways of damping movement. The game should be in player did something object needs to be moved. Well, move the object. Probably don't want it to pop. Instead, we want to move it smoothly to the next position. So the damper is doing a lerp. Applying damper to each frame, we can smooth toward the goal without popping. Yeah, so I guess that go to controller. Go to section controller. Okay, we'll go back to the table of contents here. Or I guess I'll just search for controller. Here we go. Applications, controllers. Common application of springs and game movements, moving characters, unusual process, taking move from gamepad, desired velocity, and then we set the goal for a spring. Each time step we tick this spring and use what it produces as a velocity with which to move the character. By tweaking the parameters of the spring, we can achieve movement with different levels of smoothness and responsiveness. The slightly unintuitive thing to remember about the setup is that we are using the spring in such a way that its position corresponds to the character's velocity, meaning the spring's velocity will correspond to the character's acceleration. Assuming the desired character velocity remains fixed, we can also use the spring to predict the future character velocity simply by evaluating the spring with a larger dt than we normally would. Alright, this seems really cool. But I think I'm going to have to... I think I'm going to have to start from the beginning to really get what's going on here. I like this visualization though. So here we have the vector that the joystick is giving, and then it's sort of slowly moving towards that vector, and then eventually getting there. Interesting. Anyway, I gotta go. I am going to save all these links that you guys have been sharing with me because they are awesome. But otherwise, Thanks everyone for coming to the stream. I'm sorry that we were stuck on just like this dumb little movement thing the whole time. That's how things go. But I had a lot of fun in any case. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.